This might be a hard truth, but the average savings for an American under 35 years old is only $5,400, and it doesn't get much better with age. That's why if trying to save $20,000 feels a little impossible, you are not alone. So in this video, I'm dropping the 5 simple steps that my wife and I used to reach our $20,000 savings goal, which in turn was our full emergency fund. Step 1, figure out your shovel size. One of the biggest reasons why people don't see progress in their savings is because they don't know what they're working with. Like, how much income am I actually bringing in that I can delegate for saving for the future? And that is why you need to figure out your shovel size. Are you dealing with a toddler's plastic beach shovel? Or do you have a hand trowel? Or do you have a full-size shovel like they use in the movie Holes? And even more rare, do you have a huge excavator? Now, of course, I'm not talking about shovels. This is simply an analogy to describe your income sources. Obviously, when you have a bigger shovel, you can pile up dirt faster than others. Or if you have a larger income, you can pile up money faster than others as well. So within this step, you're gonna wanna bring together all of your income sources. I'm talking about your main 9 to 5, your side hustles, your government income, that $20 your Aunt Patty gave you last Christmas, and the $10 you got off Facebook Marketplace by selling your old mattress. Obviously, you can write this down with a pen and paper, you can break out the budget spreadsheets, or like my wife and I, we just use an app, specifically Monarch, in order to get a visual of all of our income together. And yes, I'm gonna be showing you the Monarch platform throughout this video because 1, they're sponsoring this, thank goodness, and 2, it has been one of the easiest ways for my wife and I to track our income as well as our expenses, which we'll get to later in this video. Step 2, the painful reality check. I've coached plenty of clients and come across many friends and family who bury their head in the sand when it comes to looking at their spending. This is gonna require you to go back through your last 3 months, pull your bank statements, and see where exactly you've been spending money. There's a reason for this step, the same way there's a reason we're doing step 1, but this is gonna help you eventually form a budget that's realistic to your life currently. I don't want you to go back into the last 3 months and view your spending with criticism. I just want you to go back to review it as a way to gain awareness. When I was trying to create my very first budget back in 2020 and I was in college, I had no idea what I was gonna put in place for my grocery spending in the next month, nor did I know how much money I was gonna spend on gas either. And the same feeling came with the rest of the categories of my budget. I had zero idea of what I was currently spending, so that's why we need step 2. Again, if you use a budgeting app or software out there, Monarch does this as well, but you can sync up your bank accounts into the platform so that all your transactions can automatically sync up and give you a visual of the reality of your spending. And now that you have these 2 vital pieces of information, your actual income as well as your actual spending the last 3 months, then you can move on to step number 3, becoming the CEO of your life. This is the step that's gonna turn your goal of saving $20,000 into a true reality. What is one of the primary jobs of a CEO? They exist to delegate their resources into their proper places. So if you're gonna be the CEO of your financial life, you are gonna delegate your income to go into all the right places. So this is where step 1 comes in, and I'm gonna show you what delegating looks like using the Monarch app. List out all your different income sources, and every single dollar within this total income amount is going to be considered an employee for your company, aka your life. In this example, we're gonna have an $8,000 household income, and we're gonna delegate $2,000 of those dollars towards our rent and utilities. Another $500 will be delegated towards our groceries, and another $200 is going to be delegated towards our transportation. Typically, when I budget, I like to delegate towards the necessities first, followed by the savings, and then towards the other expenses. So another necessity would be insurance, which we'll delegate $300 to, and then we'll always make sure to pay ourselves. Another $2,000 is going to go towards our savings. And this part in particular is where you're going to create room to start saving for your $20,000 savings goal. The reason my wife and I have been able to save this amount over time is because we've made it a priority to save. We save and pay ourselves first before we even think about going out to eat, buying new clothes, and just splurging on other personal items. I already know, for most people, if your plan is to save the rest of your money at the end of the month once you're done spending, then you're probably going to have a big fat zero left over to save. So that's why being intentional about the savings portion while you're delegating all your monies, that will make the rest of this process a lot more effortless. And I don't know about you guys, but when I first created my budgets, I actually felt like I got a raise because there were things that I was spending money on that didn't add any value to my life. And because I gained this awareness, I was able to cut those things out, leaving a whole lot more margin for me to save and reach my real goals. So let me know in the comments, what was your first experience like with budgeting? Was it rough? Did it feel like a raise, or did it feel like your resources were limited? Realistically, creating your very first budget could take a couple hours. So that's why we did step 2, so at least you had a general idea about where you spent in different categories of your life. And trust me, when I created my first budget, I had to open up another laptop next to me with all my bank statements so that I could at least plug in some numbers that reflected reality. Don't worry about being perfect here. These are all just estimates when you're making your first budget. We're gonna talk about how you can become more accurate in the 5th step. But before we get to that, the next rule is named after the popular 90s band NSYNC. And why the heck is that the name? Well, we'll get to that. For me, the proper time to create a budget is at the beginning of the month. I get paid monthly at the start of the month, so this is my best time to delegate where that money's gonna go throughout the month. There's no point in trying to budget at the end of the month after you spent everything, because now it's no longer a proactive thing to do. So because we made the budget before we spent the money, we gotta see how our spending throughout the month is gonna stay in line with the budget we created. And trust me, it is not fun to manually track every single expense and transaction you make throughout the month while still taking the time to order them into their proper categories. So this is where step 4 is crucial to make sure you actually stay on top of your budget throughout the month. Sync up your bank transactions to whatever app or software you're using. So of course, that's why I mentioned Monarch, which is able to sync up to your bank or up to 13,000 other financial institutions so that you can see all of your transactions coming into the software in real time throughout the month. And from there, it can auto-categorize all of those transactions, or you can go in yourself to really categorize those transactions accurately. My wife and I just went ahead to sync up all of our bank accounts as well as our cards securely to the Monarch app. So now there are no longer these random transactions slipping through the cracks. If you guys haven't realized, we did move this last month, and man, all those moving costs came in through the Monarch app. And although it's good for me, I kind of wish I didn't have that level of awareness. Step 5, the 3-month trial rule. All right, so these first 4 steps have helped me create a budget as well as keep track of the budget for 1 month. But did I actually stick to the budget I created at the start of the month? Most likely not. When I was first budgeting in college, my actual transactions throughout the month did not go in line with what I thought I was going to spend throughout the month. We did research in step 2, but of course reality can take a different turn. And before you go ahead to slap yourself on the wrist for not sticking to your budget, give yourself some grace. For most people that I've coached, and even for myself, it took me 3 months or 90 days to really dial in a budget that accurately reflected my life. So hey, you might have spent more on groceries than you thought you would have, or you might have really underspent on entertainment than what you thought you would have at the start of the month. So if you completely suck at budgeting for the first 3 months, that is totally fine. You gotta give yourself this 3-month trial. Within these 3 months, you might realize that you just left out a category of your life completely, or you may have realized that you actually didn't spend as much money as you thought on a certain category. So that's why at the start of every single month, we're gonna go into our budget. We're not gonna start from scratch, but we're just gonna tweak the categories in order to more accurately reflect how much we actually spend. Now, of course, the goal here is to save $20,000. And if you've never done that before, this is your time to figure out, do you actually have more money than you thought that you could put towards your savings? Or are you limited on the amount of money that you can save? And now is the time to cut out certain unnecessary expenses. For my wife and I, last month we were going through our budget and we realized we are putting a lot of money towards our phone bill. It's around $120 for T-Mobile for the 2 of us, but like we don't really take advantage of all of the features and like the T-Mobile Tuesdays. So right now we're gonna look for a different provider in order to lower that reoccurring expense. If you have a discount phone provider that you recommend, definitely let us know in the comments. And by the way, if you've been enjoying the simplicity of Monarch and the ease of use, there's a link in the description that'll give you 50% off on their annual subscription. So just use the link or use the code FRUGALRICH to get that deal. And of course, for anyone out there, there is a 7-day free trial so that you can see what it's really like for yourself. Recently, my wife and I have been enjoying the net worth dashboard. I'm gonna blur my net worth, you nosy nuts. But this has allowed us to truly see our financial health over the months and over the years. And since we're talking about things that make life easier, one thing that you can do, a little bonus step, is to automate your savings. All right, not only do we have a budget at the start of the month when we get paid, but we also have an automated transfer going from our checking into a separate savings account so that before we do anything else, we're making sure that money is going towards our savings goals. And for you, that might be the 20K. But of course, if saving $20,000 is still a little bit daunting for you, there's another video I made about reaching that $10,000 goal first. I cover 5 frugal hacks that help me do it, and if you give it a click, I will see you guys over there. Thanks, and bye.